Okay, so again, welcome. I'm going to pull up the bio to our guest this evening so that I can just give you guys a snapshot of one side of what he does. He's a professional, but he also has a business as well. So I'm going to read his professional bio and I'm going to have him then dive into what it is that he also does on his own. Okay. So, also known as Hayward Sinclair, is the senior recruiter for Prairie View A&M University PVAMU, where he has devoted 7 years of dedicated service to the PVAMU enrollment division. He has extensive experience and knowledge in admissions and career development. His recent credits include developing the Prairie View A&M University Alumni Ambassador Program, which will incorporate a more alumni-driven approach to prospective PVAMU students, career development, alumni mentoring, and creative alumni outreach initiatives. Okay, his authenticity. Look, look.
That one, we know what you're talking about.
Look, he's authentic, y'all. His authenticity, y'all know I'm talking.
We know.
It's just like, we live, and I'm not gonna edit this either, y'all, because we got live.
It's all good.
And Carrie perspective has earned him opportunities, guys, to publicly speak to student and parent groups on higher education topics such as academics, career preparation, athletic consultancy, and life coaching. Hayward is a family man, entrepreneur, businessman, and staunch advocate for historically Black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. Hayward's educational background includes an MS in Community Development from PVAMU, a BS in Computer Information Systems from Grambling State University, and is currently pursuing an MS in Sports Administration from Delaware State University. Everybody, please welcome my very special guest on this Friday, I'm going to call him Ramon St. Clair. Welcome. Thank you for coming, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, as well as the Rich Chick 360 Nation. It's my pleasure. You're doing a good thing, sis. I appreciate you. Keep it going.
Well, I appreciate it. So now that's one side. So now tell the people a little bit more about what else you have going on.
Well, what else I have going on is something known as Premier Heritage 105, or Pre-H 105 for short. And of course, it's an HBCU apparel line. So doing what I can to advocate, strengthen, and increase the culture, the awareness of my beloved HBCUs.
Love it. Love it. So now, what made you take your love and your passion for HBCUs and actually turn it into a business? Like, you have an online retail store, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell us about that. What was your journey to say, I'm going to do this?
It happened about, maybe 10 plus years ago with a friend of mine. We both graduates of Grambling State University, and we noticed the impact, both positive and negative, of collegiate gear, specifically the locations from which you purchase it. So we noticed that, of course, you have the people out at the games grinding, selling gear. Now, the gear they have sometimes would be nice. It would be just your basic graphics, but the quality would be poor. Mm. Let's jump to going to whichever your prospective university's bookstore is. Good graphics, okay quality, but those prices were bananas for some of that stuff. And then it wouldn't last as long. So he came up with the idea, hey, let's create some gear. And, me being kind of creative, I have a slight history of being creative.
Okay.
Back at campus, I was that guy who had the Kwame bronze, burnt red.
Okay.
There. I was the cat that had the cartoon jeans, out up clothes, similar to what we do now. Of course, everything happens in a cyclical nature. So we decided to come together and try to make HBCU apparel one accessible 24 hours a day for those family members who couldn't come to a homecoming, who couldn't get to a spring fest, who couldn't, if you migrated away from your university, so if you were living in California and you went to your prospective school on the opposite side of the country, how do you get access to gear? Especially nice quality gear that's repping your set, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's how the actual idea came about, and been moving along since then. Been some challenges, of course, in retail, and of course, being blessed, things happen. I now own the company Lock, Stock, and Barrel as of about 2-3 years ago. So since then, been rebuilding, reorganizing, and preparing to hit the HBCU apparel world with some hotness, get up there and give another option along with some other people that I admire doing the same thing.
Love it. So, Lock, Stock, and Barrel, what type of products would you offer there?
Well, what we offer, of course, are, and to be specific, t-shirts.
Okay.
We offer outerwear, which are your hoodies, your crew neck sweatshirts, and of course, your three-quarter zip up type apparel. We're going to be offering jackets, Letterman jackets, sweaters. And on a non-apparel side, of course, we're going to offer a few items as far as home goods, but mostly sports memorabilia and things that are just going to be more useful for both students on campus as far as your apparel needs, as well as those of us that are alum who want to keep pace with hot gear and apparel, as well as non-merchandise items that are being offered.
I love it. And so I think this is a very relevant discussion about e-commerce, because everywhere it seems like you look, somebody is starting or trying to start like a t-shirt line. Or so what, like, since you've been in it, gotten some bumps and bruises, overcome, successful with it, like what three pieces of advice would you give to someone who is thinking about starting their own e-commerce retail with clothing?
That's an awesome question. And this, I think, caters to across the board anybody who's trying to aspire to be an entrepreneur. First, whichever market, whichever genre, whichever niche you're going into, it's very important, Monica, to know something about that niche. You don't jump in head first into something that you're not quite familiar with, because you do have to learn those subtle nuances. And then you have to figure out what your contribution to that niche is. What are you going to do specifically if it's a niche? And one of the good things about my niche, I have other competitors who I admire, and they all are doing good work. But what can you offer, or what options can you benefit the consumer with that maybe your competitors aren't doing, or just what can you do to help elevate that culture? So that's two. And then the third one, I would say, you need to create a solid team around you. It's so important, because for a minute, of course, starting out, we're all running solo. And I've learned, and that's one of the bruises, you can't do it all on your own. Learn that the hard way. And I'm sure you understand, getting to where you are at this level, you got to be able to get a very good team around you. So those would be the three things I would say that's important. You got to research your market, figure out what you're going to do in the market, your contributions, and get a good group of folks around you to help you.
Awesome advice. Would you say that there are particular mindsets or like a frame of mind that someone who's thinking about jumping out there should adopt?
Definitely. First, you got to be hungry. You have to.
Yeah.
Because when you're endeavoring to be a boss, you got to make sure you stay motivated, and that motivation can come from many different aspects. So you have to have that mindset first and foremost. It's just like anything else in life. Just because you may aspire to it, you got to dig deep within to say why it attracts you, what you can do to maintain that, and how you're going to persevere through it. Because again, you're going to establish and feel some bumps as you're becoming established along the way. So you got to be hungry, persistence, persistence and patience. Trust and believe me when I tell you, like I say, when we started out, everything's well, organizational changes, people change. That's what you have to understand. People will change. So you got to be able to change and persevere. So persistence, you got to be committed, because of course, until we get to that level based off of what you do, you got to split time management. While you're working, as they say, your job, which I'm blessed, I don't have a job. I have a career doing something I love in the industry that I love. You have to be committed to be able to manage your time with your persistence, to stay dedicated and be hungry to do what you want to do.
Wow. Love it. Love it. And I also love how, like you said, what you do for yourself, it ties into your passion for also what you do as a career. And so now, even though you have passion and all of that, would you say that there are skills like certain things that someone who wants to jump out there needs to make sure that they take some training in or courses in? Like, what type of skills are needed to do
The
what you
first skill, the number one rule in life, and it's a saying we have from my hometown in Detroit and here in Houston: conversation rules the nation.
do?
Number one skill that you have to have, and I tell students, communication. What you and I are doing now is so important. Communication, bridging that gap, finding out what we can do, what we can help each other with. Communication is a skill, but a lot of people just don't realize that. Creativeness. Now, we all have creativeness in us. How it flourishes is something that has to be built upon, okay? The third, I would say, skill. I don't think it's a skill, we're all born with it, but again, patience. You can't expect something to come quick, even for those stories that we've seen that it seemed like it happened overnight. Trust me, our family, whoever it is that's successful, they had to put in work. They had to put in work. So I would say those would be the skills that you have to incorporate to get you where you're trying to go.
And thank you for saying patience, because I hear that a lot with entrepreneurs. They think that if the harder they go, the quicker they'll get there, and then they get burnt out and they don't realize that there's a process to
It,
this.
Not exactly, which it's a process.
Mhm.
It's what we tend to misunderstand on our own. Again, patience is a process. Things are going to happen. And this is what I've learned. As long as you're working towards it, oh, it's going to jump off. You just got to do just that. Work towards it a little bit every day.
And then let's take a commercial break here. And I want you to tell people your website or where they can find more information about Premier Heritage 105.
No problem. Commercial break. Look, I'm waiting for the music to come on.
Sorry, I'm not there yet.
Are you good? Look, but again, you're on your way. My site is being built now as we prepare. So you can go to premierheritage105.com, and I have my coming soon page. So I would appreciate all the fam, the 360 Nation, as well as other people to support, and just leave me your email and I'll get you updated on when we're actually about to launch, and of course give you information on the apparel and activities, of course, HBCU centric. So premierheritage105.com is where I'm going. I'm actually rebuilding the social media, but Premier HBCU is on the Instagram. And so, just building it out. Premier Heritage 105 is also on the Twitter. So I'm just,
Awesome.
so if you get a
Now,
little problems, just make sure you drop that email on the coming soon page, and I'll definitely reach out to you and let you know when things are coming.
and that sounds like a plan. I will make sure at the end of the video that we put the link in the comment section. And so
Appreciate you, sis. Appreciate you.
yes, yes, no, for sure. And even for those who are watching who might not have gone to a HBCU like myself, I'm from the Midwest, so I stayed up there for school.
Right, right.
And I moved down to Houston, and I'm just seeing like, man, I've really missed out. So you don't have to have gone to a HBCU to still support the apparel, to still support the culture, all of that. So I'm gonna put
And
that
what you
out.
said is powerful. And this is what I try to share with people, because of course you go to where your educational opportunities lie. So of course, and I notice all of us Black people wanted to go to an HBCU, which is, and of course, things happen. You might have gotten a better financial, but if it going to a PWI, no harm. But what you said was so powerful: support,
Yeah.
because it is an institution that has been set up for us, being descendants of former slaves and sharecroppers. Because a couple of 100 years ago, our people couldn't attend a PWI to get an education.
Mhm.
And so when you support an HBCU apparel company, and I support people that I admire. Competitors, I support them because that's what we have to do. That's what we have to regain back into our culture. So even if you didn't, if you went to UT, if you went to Michigan, you went to Wisconsin, buy some gear, because that is something that is needed in our HBCU culture. That is a walking billboard. We need that. So that's key. And what you said is true. It doesn't matter. Just support. Just support.
Just support. Just support. Love it. And so now, Ramon, in your years of grinding it out, building your company out, what challenge, like maybe list one challenge that you've had to overcome, and what have you learned from getting past that point?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm only gonna list a few. Too
Okay.
much time. Again, um, challenge, patience.
Okay.
Patience. We want it quick and fast, and not necessarily we got to have it right then and there, but we have to learn. And as you mentioned, things come about in due time. And this is what I've learned as well to compound that. If you hadn't worked towards it, it's not going to come about. You know, let's take the biblical adage. Faith through works, right? In other words, for the Father to meet you, you got to meet him halfway. You got to put in that work. And of course, I'm paraphrasing it, but you got to put in some work for your blessings to come. Okay. Another thing that was a challenge to me, being highly competitive, being athletic, being a professional, you know, having a solid academic foundation. This is what I've learned, and I tell this to all entrepreneurs. Stay focused on your path. You know, you tend to kind of look at your competitors, and if you know them, you're like, man, and most of us know each other indirectly because we admire each other's work and we watch each other. But, and this is what I was guilty of a couple of years ago, and I stopped and I had to learn to rechain the focus, especially once the company became mine. Again, it happens in due time, but stop comparing yourself to somebody else who's doing the same thing, but they're a couple of steps ahead of you. Because again, you didn't walk in that person's shoes. They had to put in that work. It might not seem like it, we might not agree with it, but they put in that work. So you have to do the same. And then I would think bootstrapping, if you have to go the route that most of us do. You got to put your own money in or get some folks that love you to help put money into it for you or with you. So those would be, I think, my 3 challenges. Patience, stop worrying about that other man or that other woman doing what you do, and making sure that you can get your financial aspects together. And hence, that's why it's called the grind. You know that.
Yeah, right. Love it. And so now, what keeps you motivated through all of that, having to persevere and all of that? What keeps you motivated?
Um, I love the culture that I'm representing. I'm a 2-time product of the HBCU culture. I'm a Cosby kid. So at that time when Dr. Cosby, hold on, Pop, hold on, like I said, I'm a Cosby kid. During that time is when HBCUs were prevalent. So I was at Grambling during those days. So I lived the culture. I'm a product of it. I hold a degree from Grambling. I hold a degree from Prairie View. I'm about to get my degree in the fall from another HBCU. So I eat, drink, sleep it. And I do that because, again, I can see the value because I've received value of it. I mean, you can see in my office, I rep all 105 sets. So it's important, and it's ours. As Black people, it's ours. Again, forefathers and mothers laid their lives down so that their babies can get an education so we can do better than them. But this is what we need to make sure we remember so that we can give back. So this is my way of saying thank you, Grambling State University. Thank you, Prairie View A&M University. Thank you, Delaware State. And thank you, the rest of the HBCU families, for doing for me like you've done for so many others, and me helping expose and getting people to wear the gear and offering products that support and then giving mine back because it is a financial requirement. That's the least I can do. Again, because I've been afforded a position, a career, not a job, doing what I love for the people that I love in a market that I love. So, you know, I'm the one that's blessed.
That's awesome. And I just want to say, I joined in on a discussion the other day, and
Mhm,
we were talking about the differences if you've gone to a PWI or a HBCU.
mhm,
And one of the main, I guess, experiences from those who attended HBCUs were that they were so much more nurturing towards African Americans. Like you
mhm,
felt like you were supported, and and that you have family. Whereas, going to a PWI, I was the only African American in my class. I'm an
mhm.
occupational therapist by trade. And
Okay.
so, only African American, dealt with racism on every side. But so just hearing that those who had gone to HBCU say that it was a very rich environment just to
Mhm.
nurture who they were as people, as African Americans in this world. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
of course, you can see now during these times, it's even more so relevant. And I am so glad as a father of Black kids,
Yeah.
as a product that as our children are graduating, and I always tell people when I'm out recruiting, HBCU is no one's second choice. We should always be your first choice.
Yeah.
Because, of course, your family members set it aside for you to do that because they were shunned.
Hmm.
And all they wanted to do was learn to read a book
Hmm.
themselves for us. So I tell people that all the time. And again, this is no diss to our people who went to a PWI, but of course, I didn't even have to say it. You mentioned the difference, and it's true. That's not a recruiting angle. That's not a sales pitch.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are the subtle yet dynamic differences
Mhm.
in the culture. Here, and I use the moniker, go where you're appreciated,
Mhm.
not where you're tolerated, because it is a difference culturally for us. The learning mechanisms,
Mhm.
the culture. So yeah, so that's again, that adds to, it goes back to the questions. That's why I do what I do on both ends,
Yeah. Yeah.
both ends.
Love it. So, how would you define success? Everybody has their individual definition, but what is
Mhm.
yours?
This is success coming from me, and I'm gonna give it to you from a professional, an entrepreneur, and a father, family man. Success is doing what you like that makes you happy with the people you love. Now, if you get financial rewards from it, that makes it all the better. So as long as you're doing something that you enjoy and it gives you that warm feeling, and you just so happen to do it with the people you love, family, friends, loved ones, and cousins, you're winning. And if y'all making bank too, hey, that is success.
Love it. Love it. And so now, if you can bring somebody back from history,
Mhm.
anybody, and just sit down and have a conversation like we're talking, who would it be?
I'm overindulged. I'm gonna do like we see on social media when you ask somebody for one thing, and they,
That's okay.
but I think in this in this aspect, it's warranted. Of course, being in the culture, being a Black man in a country that is ours. Don't let y'all think is not. We were here. We'll go look. That'll be another podcast. We'll go into the history later. But if I were to bring two people back that I think created a major impact on our culture, and notwithstanding what we're going through now, you can see even more prominence in what they were trying to display. Malcolm X and James Baldwin, because they fought for us. They were shunned a lot of times by their own, regardless of who they were trying to protect us from, the other cultures, but they stood for what they believed in, which is us and our history. They spoke out on it, rejected a lot of times by us, their people, but what they said is so profound. And if you think back to it now, it's true. So we have to ask ourselves now and challenge ourselves, okay, these brothers and sisters have laid down their lives, been incarcerated, whatever turmoil they've gone through. What are we doing that can help support and maintain that? What can we do to change?
That's good. That's that's something to think about. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we all have something that we can do.
Mhm.
We all
Yeah.
have a part. You
Mhm.
know, there is
Mhm.
no well, that doesn't include me. There is everybody has something that can be done.
Everybody.
And so now besides those guys,
Mm.
who would you say if there anybody else that is your like your greatest inspirations?
As I mentioned it before, I'm a Cosby kid.
Yeah.
Because when you read what happened, we all know, like I said, it's a whole nother podcast. We know the conspiracy about that, but I am a proud Cosby kid.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, Fat Albert. What? What? Are
Uh,
what? Him and Sidney Poitier, let's do it again. What? Uptown Saturday night? What? A happy childhood. Right.
yeah.
And then as he advanced, you know, being a true doctorate of education, him and his wife, Dr. Camille,
Mhm.
successful financially, corporately,
Mhm.
right? Culturally, what they did again for the culture of HBCUs that was started and continued on through hip hop when it was truly hip hop. Again, whole nother, yeah. But I looked up to that as a young Black boy waking up because each episode of Fat Albert was a lesson. A lesson, and if you look back to today, if you look at Cosby, at Fat Albert, it's a lesson within a lesson. And then when they watched the Black Hornet, who was their favorite superhero, that was a secondary lesson. So we had TV back then, Monica, and you know which actually taught us history, pride.
Mhm.
So yeah, me being a Cosby kid, yeah. Now, designers, of course, Damon and the brothers, Fubu,
Yeah.
Carl Kanai, the Godfather,
Yeah.
and a lot of my designs are reminiscent of that, as you guys will see. Mabel Walker, I'm a true fan of Walker wear. This sister puts it down with the fashion and keeping it urban yet chic at times. And then the forefather to it all that even sparked it for me as a youngster, Willie Wear, Willie Smith. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been digging fashion since adolescence because
Okay.
I was always that kid pasting stuff on shoes. You know, did it at Grambling, pasting stuff on shoes, cutting up stuff, painting stuff, cool haircuts.
Yeah.
I was always that kid.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so now, what would you say is your greatest aspect of being an entrepreneur? What do you love most about it?
Sharing and networking with my people such as yourself, because as you mentioned, we all have to support and we can all collaborate on some aspects. So I get excited just when I'm out recruiting. It could be a school I've never gone to or a state that I've never recruited in. That excites me because I consider myself a people person.
Yeah.
So I love meeting people. I love learning, of course, hence me getting my second graduate degree. And that's what propels me for ascension.
Okay.
So just getting to meet new people, networking, being able to potentially collaborate, and just spreading the word of the possibility and potential that we have as Black folks. Ooh, we
Yeah.
bad, in case you ain't heard.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought about. So, and creating things that will impact people's lives, creating that feeling of, yeah, those are good times, or yes, I'm representing that set. That's what does it.
Yeah. Love it. And so now, you've had successes. So what would you say you attribute the most to where you have gotten to today?
Um, with any successes, the birthing of a success came from what? A failure. We have to embrace, and I won't even let's diminish the word failure. Let's call it a life lesson, because when you fail, that means it has stopped you at that point. and you can't progress further for whatever restrictions. So I don't even use the term failure. I use the term disruption,
Okay.
because that's what it is. The disruption, we experience what happened. It hurts. Makes us second guess ourselves. But once we collect ourselves, it's time to what? It's time to keep it moving. So to become great, you have to go through different likes experiences. And this is what I always have been told, and I've learned that everything that you go through affects you from every aspect, both personally, emotionally, professionally. So you kind of have to take the bumps and the bruises, as our parents would say, so that you can progress. So I've learned to take those disruptions, those disappointments, that angst that I felt, those moments where you're wondering why, and you learn to use that as energy. I like to tell people I walk around with a chip on my shoulder. And it's not a chip where I'm trying to start a fight with anybody, but that's my motivation. That's my fuel burning in my chest. As they say in Missouri, and I love my people from Missouri, and you know their state saying, they're the show me state. Show you better than I can tell you.
Love it. And I think that's also a great point that you made. Like, as entrepreneurs, we have to, well, one, believe in the vision, and then walk like you have confidence that it's going to happen, even if you have to, yes, put that chip on your shoulder. And for some, that might be stepping out of who they normally are, you know, just getting into like character just to make it happen. But so I love that. Books. Give me a title, like one of your favorite books.
Okay, I'll give you two.
Okay.
And I want you to read them and then let me know, because I'm interested in your impact. And I always tell people when I tell them, but read them actually, and then get back with me. I want to see if you do the same way. Two of my favorite books.
Okay.
Because of course I love my people. I'm a history aficionado. I love our history because it's so rich out of what they don't teach us. And it, you know how we say, that's a whole nother podcast. Black folk tales.
Okay.
Julius Lester. And this is why. Uncle Julius does such an awesome job, Monica, at transforming the words you read into a visual picture.
Wow.
Okay. Even if you have or don't think you have an imagination, the way Julius Lester puts those words into action, and they're ebonically correct because it's folktale, so it's based off of our old language. Visualize that and you can see it, you can feel all the emotion. So that book, as a child, has resonated within me, feelings that I can overcome, because that's what Black folk tales are versed off of, like nursery rhymes. They're good, they're bad, people excel, people are defeated. But it's just a testament of us as a race. My second one, and this one will take you even further as far as aspiring to greatness, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Do I have The Alchemist? No, I've heard so much about it. Okay.
The Alchemist. And again, Uncle Paulo does the same job. The visuals that you set up by his wordplay, it immerses you into the story and you feel it. You feel the pain. You can see, and you go along with the character, and you become the character just like you become the characters in a different story of Black folktales. So when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling motivated, I pick up those books, and I've gone through 3 copies of Black folktales because, of course, working in higher ed, I carry a book with me or 2. So, you know, when I'm on the plane or whatever traveling, I'll read. And of course they get warm, but those are the 2 books that I bet you, sure enough, will make an impact on your life. Black Folk Tales by Julius Lester and The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Awesome. Thank you. And I will be reading those, and I will be getting back to you too.
Holler at your brother.
And so now, what would you say is like the one thing that you can just brag about, that you are happy to pat yourself on the back, like, I did that?
Overcoming those first preliminary obstacles, ownership change.
Yeah.
I'm there now just taking care of the organizational aspects, and I'm comfortable with where I'm at. So I think the hardest thing that we have to learn in anything in life is the start. So once I started, things happened and they came into my life as a lesson. Once you understand that, you will believe and you know that they come into your life as tests. And as you pass those tests, you'll notice that you're ascending.
Love it.
They'll hurt, but as long as you're ascending. So that's what I've learned. That's what I can brag upon, my resilience, success that's coming, because it's here, even in the initial stage. It's just a matter of me, like I say, when that site comes out, you'll see it.
Love it. Love it. Sacrifices. What sacrifices have you had to make?
Ooh, now this is where we talk brother to sister here. And you've gone through an experience on sacrifices, family time.
Yeah.
Those of us that are entrepreneurs, we self-isolate.
Yeah, we do.
So family time, sacrifice, growth. Everybody can't go with you, right? So once you realize that and you move on without those people, not saying that you've done away with them, you're still cool with them, you love them, but they can't travel the journey that you're traveling. They don't feel the same way about it you do. So yeah, it's cool. I dig that. I'll support it, but they'll support you from afar. So that's what I had to learn. And that's what I sacrificed: family time, growth, and just realizing your people that you love, it might not be meant for them to come along with you.
Awesome. Awesome. And so now when you are not recruiting and when you are not building your businesses, what hobbies are you enjoying?
Spending time with my son, that, and trying to make sure that I can be there for him and that he sees that. I'm a big kid.
Okay.
So I collect comic books because that allows your imagination. I love to read, so that allows you to expand your imagination. I'm a DJ, so that's one of the first thing I got to get my equipment, because I got some, in that circuit, you with your friends. I love music.
Okay.
I play the piano, has played the piano since I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So those are the ways that I tune it down. Of course, being still athletic, I engage in recreational sports as well as league sports.
Okay.
So, I would say typical things that a man does,
Okay.
his own private Idahos, his children, sports. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And it's important to have that balance, because some entrepreneurs are off, about the grind, and they don't get to, even if it's, scheduled in, they don't get to do those, enjoyable activities. And I think it's it's a balance that needs to happen.
Definitely. Because again, as you mentioned earlier, burnout is real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Burnout is real. And if you don't, again, taper it down, you could be right there on the edge, and the good edge, you're ready to go to that next level, and your body will let you know. Say, hey, bruh, come on, sit on down right quick. It will sit you down.
It definitely will. It definitely will. And so now, what can we expect to see from you and your endeavors, like in the next 5 or 10 years?
My goal is to be the vehicle of any and everything HBCUs.
Okay.
That's academic, athletic, and entertainment wise. Okay. Like I said, I'm totally based on the culture. So that means establishing collaborations and partnerships so we can do what we're supposed to do to maintain in this world and just bring more prominence back to our culture. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm militant, but I am. I'm all about us. I'm all about Black man, Black woman, Black family, Black children. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
So next 5-10 years, yeah, hosting events so that I can get the rest of my nieces and nephews, because this is a family thing, into an HBCU. From every academic level, from coming in to get your undergraduate to graduate degrees, to more mature events for those seeking a doctorate degree. Yeah. Sporting events. So the whole gamut, and of course, all being laced by that hot gear. Yeah. So being one of the forefronts in the culture to help maintain the culture is my goal.
Okay. Love it. Love it. And thank you for your authenticity. Oh, look. Authenticity. There we go.
There it is.
Look, I'm gonna keep trying till I get it.
You got it. Mm-hmm.
Look.
You got it. You got it.
But thank you for taking your time, Mr. Roman. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Yes, no. Any last words of wisdom, nuggets for the people?
Again, success is doing what you want to do that makes you happy with the people you love. And if you can make money doing it, you Gucci.
And there you go. There it is, people. And I'm going to check to see if we have any questions. And if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to leave your questions down below. And I will make sure that Mr. Ramon gets them. James Smith was watching. Thank you, James, for watching. And yeah, so we are good for right now. Thank you again. I appreciate it. I will be staying in touch, especially for these books. But yeah, I'll be staying in touch for, I'm sure at some point, Rich Chick 360 will want to something. So
hey, I'm here again. Let's make it happen. PremierHeritage105.com. Premier Heritage HBCU on Instagram. Holla at your boy.
Sounds like it. See you later. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Take care.